Week before, so she was having a really rough time. A few minutes into teaching, she started explaining something about our final exam, and the guys next to me were passing notes. They usually did it every time she turned around, but this time she saw them. She usually wouldn't have cared, but she thought it was something about her, so she walked over and asked to see it. The kid shook his head without saying anything, so she basically reached into his pocket to grab the note. She started reading it in front of the class and said, "I left it in the garbage bin in room W12. It's all there with the," and stopped herself before reading the rest out loud. She looked down at the boy, clearly having read something bad, and didn't know what to say. Her face was pale, and not knowing what to do, she grabbed them both and literally yanked them out of the room. We all sat there confused for a half hour, wondering what that note said. There were police at our school, and they asked our whole row to come to the office. They questioned everybody about it, but nobody did anything, and by the time they let us go, they had sent everybody home. We later found out that the note said that the key to the office was in a garbage bin, along with a loaded gun. Both of them denied writing it and said they didn't know who it was for, so they decided to fire our teacher for creating a school-wide panic and expelled our entire row. People who got expelled.
When did an inside joke with your sister stop being funny? It started when we were kids. Didn't matter where we were. Grocery store, gas station, school parking lot. One of us would shout, "Last one to the car is a loser." And it was on. No warning. No mercy. Full sprint. We treated it like the Olympics. If you tripped, too bad. If you had a backpack on, sucks to be you. The car was the finish line. And victory tasted like smug laughter and sibling pride. I had more wins, but only barely. My sister was scrappy. She once dove over the hood just to beat me by half a second. Our parents hated it. "You're gonna dent the car. Someone's gonna get run over." But they always smiled when they said it. Deep down, I think they liked seeing us act like idiots. We kept it going even as we got older. At 13, it was still funny. At 16, it was nostalgic. Even at 19, when we were both back from our first semesters of college, we did it in the Target parking lot. I won that one, but only because she tripped over her own shoelace. She laughed the whole way to the passenger seat, flipping me off with both hands. It became our thing. A weird little tradition only we cared about. No matter what, holidays, weekend trips, even funerals once. We found a moment for it. It was like a way to say, "I still see you," without actually saying it. Then, I guess it just faded. I didn't notice it at first. One afternoon, we came out of a movie theater, and I instinctively yelled it. She just smiled, shook her head, and walked to the car. I figured she was tired. Another time, I tried it at the mall. She waved me off. "You win," she said, already unlocking the door. It didn't hit me as weird until a few months later. We were at our cousin's wedding. The whole family was tipsy and loud, and someone shouted that it was time for the after party. I nudged her. "Last one to the car," and she just looked at me like I'd said something in another language. "I'm not doing that anymore," she said, quiet. I laughed like she was joking, but she wasn't. She turned and started walking, slow. No sprint, no race, just gone. I asked her about it later. She brushed me off. "I'm just over it," she said. "We're not kids anymore," but that wasn't it. I knew her too well. She wanted to run. I could see it in the way she looked at the car, like it was still a finish line she missed, but something was stopping her. I found out what a few weeks after that. I was in the kitchen when I overheard her talking to our mom in hushed voices. I wasn't eavesdropping at first, just grabbing water, but I froze when I heard her say, "I don't want him to treat me different." Mom said nothing for a second. Then, "You should tell him." "I will," my sister whispered. "Just not yet." That night, I asked her straight up, "Are you okay?" She smiled too fast. "Yeah, why?" I said nothing. I didn't push. A few months later, she moved back home. Said her dorm wasn't working out. I helped her carry boxes. One was labeled MEDS in thick black marker. That was the first time I felt it for real, that the race was over. Eventually, she told me about the diagnosis, about the doctor visits she didn't want me to know about how she started noticing her legs getting weaker, little by little, how sometimes she just couldn't run. "I didn't want you to see it like that," she said. "Didn't want you to know I was losing." I didn't say anything, just reached out and tapped her shoulder. "Tag," I said quietly. "You're it." She laughed, then she cried. "We don't race anymore, but sometimes when we leave the house, I whisper it anyway. Last one to the car is a loser," and she still smiles, every time. When did an inside joke with your sister stop being funny? It's
3 foods in Universal Studios that just make sense. First, at Lard Lad Donuts, you can get this Homer Simpson's giant pink donut, but only if you say the secret code, Giant Pink. The code allows you to get this hidden menu item that you can actually eat safely because the donut is full of air inside. Next, if you're in Super Nintendo World, grab the popcorn that comes in the glowing Superstar. But the real deal isn't the popcorn, it's the star itself. You get to keep it as a souvenir, and since it's often only available seasonally, it sells out fast. And lastly, you can't go without grabbing a frozen butterbeer because it's a perfect blend of butterscotch and whipped cream served in its unique glass and has no alcohol. 3 foods in Universal Studios that just make sense. First, at Lard Lad Donuts, y'all remember in a Mr. Beast video,
Y'all remember, in a Mr. Beast video, a guy was ready to go through hell for his family, right? Yeah, that dude was Sean. At first, it's light work, but then life hits like a truck. He's cooking cabbage water, waking up the spiders in his bed. Dude was gone mental. So what does Mr. Beast do? He pulls up with Sean's wife and kids, and when they leave the next day, Bro just stands there in silence. Then Jimmy tests him. Take $100,000 right now.
Season 3 Squid Game combo is ranked. And last, you could wear the Circle Guard skin with the milk backbling to be the guard feeding the baby, and this pickaxe represents the kid themselves. But in third, you could wear the legendary inside lane with player 456 to reference the knives from hide and seek, the Skeleton key backbling to reference the keys, and the gumball gun backbling to show.
Removed!
People who have gotten jumped, what did you do? I was getting my usual caramel latte at the coffee shop when everything went sideways. This guy walked in wearing a blue hoodie and had the same walk as my brother Jake, who disappeared 3 years ago. My heart started racing and I couldn't help staring at him, trying to see if it could actually be him. Jake went missing during a camping trip and we never found out what happened to him. The guy ordered his coffee and turned around, giving me a better look at his face. He had the same crooked nose and dimple on his left cheek. I kept staring because for a second I really thought my brother had just walked back into my life. That's when I noticed the girl sitting next to him giving me the death glare. She had bleached blonde hair and those long acrylic nails that looked like weapons. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor, making everyone look. Before I could even process what was happening, she was in my face, screaming about looking at her man. I tried to back away, but she grabbed my hair and yanked me forward. My coffee went flying and splashed all over some poor kid's laptop. I was trying to explain that I thought he looked like someone, but she wasn't listening. The first punch caught me right in the eye, and I saw stars immediately. I'd never been in a fight before and didn't know how to defend myself. She kept swinging, and her nails scratched deep lines across my cheek. I tried to cover my face, but she was like a wild animal. Other customers were screaming for her to stop, but she just kept going. Her boyfriend just stood there holding his coffee like he was watching TV. Someone finally pulled her off me, but not before she got in one last kick to my ribs. I was on the floor covered in coffee and blood, trying to figure out what just happened. My left eye was already swelling shut, and I could taste copper in my mouth. The barista was on the phone with 911 while some nice old lady pressed napkins to the cut on the face. The cops showed up first and immediately arrested the girl who was still trying to get at me. She kept screaming that I was trying to steal her man and that I deserved it. The paramedics came next and said I needed to go to the hospital for my eye. The whole left side of my face was throbbing and I could barely see out of that eye. They loaded me into the ambulance while everyone in the coffee shop stared. At the hospital, they did a bunch of tests and the news wasn't good. The girl's punch had damaged something in my eye and I'd lost about 40% of my vision in it. The doctor said it might improve with time, but probably not completely. I also had 3 broken ribs and needed 12 stitches on my face, all because I looked at someone who reminded me of my missing brother. 2 days later, a nurse brought me flowers that someone had left at the front desk. There was a card from the boyfriend saying he was sorry, and that his girlfriend was just upset because he cheated on her again the night before. He actually wrote again, like it was no big deal. He said this was the 7th time she'd caught him, and she always got crazy afterward. I threw the flowers in the trash. My parents hired a lawyer as soon as they found out what happened. The girl was facing assault charges, but we were also suing her in civil court. The lawyer said we had a slam dunk case with all the witnesses and my medical records. The coffee shop had security cameras that caught everything, including her throwing the first punch. Even her boyfriend would have to testify about what he saw. The criminal case happened first, and she got convicted of assault. The judge gave her 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. She had to pay for all my medical bills too. During the trial, it came out that she'd been arrested twice before for fighting other girls she thought were looking at her boyfriend. The judge called her a danger to society. The civil case was even easier than my lawyer predicted. We asked for $50,000 for my pain and suffering and permanent vision loss.